Welcome to another episode of the Refined Peasants podcast, and today we're talking about, is social media a problem, and if so, how do we solve it? Alright, so I think the best way to start this is to give everyone's, intro views on social media and, what it's good for, what it's bad for, and, what do we think. So I'll go ahead and I'll pass that over to Garrett, and just go ahead and, wrap up your views of what social media is.
So, social media has a lot of good aspects. It puts you in contact with people that you may have otherwise never met again. So, back in the day, you used to graduate high school, people used to move. You'd never have contact with all these people again. Family members that moved away, or there's 1,000,001 different reasons. Other than that, I don't see a real net benefit to social media than connecting people who otherwise wouldn't have been connected. Honestly, what social media does, I think, could have been accomplished with a phone call. The only difference is strangers can look you up on social media, and you have to give your phone number out most of the time. I really struggle with seeing it as a net gain in general. So the news that you find on social media, a lot of people do get their news, and not all of it's fake, but a lot of it's fake.
Most of it's fake.
And I don't see it as having been a net gain for society. I think it feeds into our basest instincts, and feeds that in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
Feeds that need for social interaction.
It feeds for validation. A lot of people.
So it does feed into your validation needs too, but I don't think that was always a problem. The problem is humans are a social species, and there are good and bad things that come with that. For one, we identify with a group. We're very tribal. But by being very tribal, we are inherently outcast. Anybody who's different from our little tribe.
Yeah, your tribe was not supposed to exceed, say, 100 people. Now it's 100 million.
Anyway, so just to wrap up my view on social media, you're going to be hard-pressed to convince me it's actually been a net gain to society. I think it provides a lot more negative, just social function. The social ineptitude of some people who can only function on social media is mind-boggling. And the benefit that it presents to me does not outweigh the negative connotations it has on society as a whole. So, Nick, think about social media.
I would disagree with it. I think it's done some good. And the fact that we are connected more better than any generation before us. I could talk to people half across the world right now if I wanted to. I talked to a buddy who lives in Denmark, so it's just that much easier. But like you said, there are some problems that come with it. It's a double-edged sword. There's good to a bad. It's no pitch perfect. It's definitely got some bad, but I think the way it's helped society in a positive way, it's a lot easier to do things. It helps sports a lot. Places like Twitter and Instagram, you put highlights up there, college recruits see it. It gets you out there better than, say, old school film does. But, that is a small percentage of the population that...
With social media, you can't effectively be your own hype man.
You can.
You don't need to hire an agent or anything. You can be...
You can make money off it if you want to do it, say, an OnlyFans. It's work. It's dirty work, but it makes money. Pays bills.
Yeah.
Sex work is work, Nick. God.
It's just...
Not on this fucking podcast, it's not. Not on... No.
Should I put my shirt back on then?
That is not the...
What are you talking about? Go subscribe to my OnlyFans.
Anyway, no, we are not
Hashtag
at
get
OnlyFans.
Fucked. Don't you forget it.
I will say this, though. I think social media definitely, it gives people a platform who they would never have a platform if not for social media. Like the Ben Shapiro's of the world, the Alex Jones of the world, the good and the bad, they would not have a platform if not for modern social media.
That is an exceedingly fair point. And it's not just political commentators either. So for one, we wouldn't have a platform if not for YouTube.
This is going out on YouTube.
You can
right.
You can be literally dirt poor and still become famous off any social media.
Well, and that's so when I was growing up, being a YouTube, being a game star or a YouTube star or whatever, that was a fiction. Nobody did that until the early 2000s.
Now it's like anyone, if you fit a niche market, you can make a lot of money.
God, it drives me crazy. How
There's a guy from Sweden who makes more money than I can ever think of because he fucking plays games like Minecraft.
PewDiePie.
No fucking shit.
That dude makes
and
so
copyright
much.
strike. I mean, so that's a really good point.
Yeah.
All the people that wouldn't otherwise, and it's not, like I said, it's not just the political commentators. There are people with fitness blogs. There are people with dietary blogs. There are people with everyday, like, slice of life blogs. There are cooking. Hell, I watch Binging with Babish on YouTube.
I love him.
Oh my god, the dude's amazing. Like
You can literally learn
I
anything.
like him more than Gordon Ramsay. Don't tell my wife. But he's great, and
You can,
that's clearly a net positive that I hadn't considered.
I mean, you can learn just about anything nowadays. You can go from like not knowing how to cook a simple pizza rolls to I can cook a 5-star meal. Like lately, I learned how to fly fish off of just YouTube.
No? YouTube
So,
is a
You can learn a lot of things.
So there are definitely some good things, but I think there is definitely some bad. I think especially whenever you're talking about kids,
yeah.
because I think it messes up their mind on Instagram, seeing like this person a friend of theirs living this glorious life because look at how cool their Instagram is. They went bowling, they went to the beach. This must be how their everyday life is, and it's not an accurate picture of their life. You're only seeing the best bits. But if all you see is the best bits,
You think your life is shit.
you think your life is terrible.
Right. And that's another negative is that it encourages the perpetuation of this perfect lifestyle, quote unquote, where you're at a beach with a martini every day.
You get that unrealistic lifestyle that not
and
everyone can have.
And it's not like that was never around before. Like you watch TV, like people, when people watch Hugh Hefner walking around in a robe with a pipe surrounded by beautiful women in a grotto. Like that's so it's not like this just started, but it's definitely got more prevalent.
Yeah, it's like
but I have to agree with you. So the kids are actually what we're going to be talking about today.
specifically Gen Z. Gen Z is
Who
the
is-
most affected.
Who only grew up with social media,
Yes.
Right.
It's-
So-
They've only ever known social media. So
and it's not just Gen Z, but the generations following Gen Z is too.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
So if you're 90s kid like me, you're safe. Awesome. It's because we grew up, walking uphill in the snow both ways.
Oh yeah, fucking baby boomer.
do they even know what it's like to walk to school nowadays?
No, they hoverboard to school.
Mm-hmm.
God dang peasants!
They Uber.
90s kids high five.
You are not a 90s
Shut the
kid.
fuck
Okay,
up.
I want to put this out there. If
He
you've
was-
gotten this far in the podcast, Wyatt was born in 1999.
2 months early.
Is he a 90s kid? Because I think that's fucking horse shit.
He was November 13th. He was born 2 months early, by the way.
Again, not my fault,
Not a 90s kid.
but I'm definitely a 90s kid.
No, don't. No. We're going to leave it to people who listen. Like, leave a comment. Is he a 90s kid or not? I think he's full of shit.
So subscribe. and
So,
like.
yeah, subscribe and like too. Yay, second podcast. We're allowed to say that now.
Yeah, about damn time.
Anyways,
All right, so
back
let's get to the sad stuff because this is
This is gonna be a sad.
and honestly this is really surprising. Like to see the data and the correlation between these things that we're about to talk about. It's shocking, not totally unforeseen, I guess, if you look at all the variables. But
no one talks about it as more than they should.
okay, so let's just start off and we'll interject and stuff when.
Okay, so to give it to the confidence, these are the sources. All right, the CDC, a study called the Youth Risk Behaviors Survey, which they did a survey, and then a documentary that I recommend you watch called The Social Dilemma. It's made up of former presidents, CEOs of places like Facebook, Pinterest, all these social media accounts.
and it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, and I recommend.
Hashtag Netflix sponsor
Yeah,
us.
no shit. I want my own comedy skit. So these are very recommendable sources. This isn't Wikipedia. That's not some person on Reddit.
Yeah, these are reputable.
Yes.
You can, as much as you trust the CDC after the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Fuck Fauci.
Oh god. So, the CDC did a study from 2009 to 2018, from ages 14 to 18, and they found that the likelihood of suicide planning and attempts jumped by 61.7%, from 6.0 to 9.7 per 100,000 people. It's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, that's like you said, a 61% increase in attempts and planning and ER visits, right?
Yes.
So and that's 2009 to present.
Around 95,000 youth people from 14 to 18 needed to go to the ER for self-harm. So they needed emergency department self-care because they try to kill themselves.
Right.
The Youth Risk Behavior Survey did a study in 2019 that looks at grades from 9 to 12. So high school kids. And so this is 2019. This is my generation. That's the class that graduated before me.
Okay.
So very, very... these people grew up with social media.
So what do you have to say about 2009 to 2018 increased suicide rate?
All right. What do you mean?
So what do you have to say about it? Like, does that surprise you? Does that seem like to track? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know what it was like before I was around, but no, those numbers don't shock me. Not one bit.
Is there any particular reason it doesn't shock you? Do you just feel like your generation?
No, I feel like we're definitely a more depressed, anxious generation.
We are statistically the most depressed and anxious generation. It's Gen Z.
Yeah, I believe that.
And most people say that my generation, we had to grow up fast. We had to learn to do shit real quick, believe it or not.
You had YouTube to teach you shit, though.
Yeah, you think of people who raised us.
I mean, it's definitely hard to say from... to say that our generation had to grow up fast and we have it harder than any other generation.
Oh, no.
Because, a few generations ago, you got, for your 18th birthday, a one-way trip to Vietnam.
Yeah.
That was life back then, not that long ago. It's hard to say that, we're...
Yeah.
And I don't know what the suicide rate was back then, but, I mean, it's surely not as high as it is now.
Yeah.
So...
At least with kids, with minors.
So this survey in 2019, it looks at grades 9 through 12. It looks at your sexes, so male, female, your races, and your sexual identity. So LGBTQ, 12, whatever you want to call them.
ABC.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The alphabet people.
That's great.
So 18.8% reported considering suicide. They planned their suicide. Out of that, 24.1% were female. 13.3% were male.
And that's planned suicide.
This is they were planning, seriously considering suicide. 15.7 made plans to attempt it. So this is how I would do it. And out of those, 19.9 were female, 11.3% were male. So females statistically more higher. Through this whole study, they are more higher to plan, attempt, and commit suicide than males.
Right.
8.9% had attempted suicide. 11% female, 6.6% male. Finally, 2.5% needed medical treatment because of self-harm. Needed to be rushed to the hospital, self-harm. 3.3% were female, 1.7% were male.
So it's close to... so the actual attempted suicide, the people who needed ER visits, that's close to double the amount of women to men.
So this also goes into races. So white people planned suicide was 19.1%, black was 15%, Hispanic was 14.7%. That was just planned. They thought about it, they were planning it. When it came to their grade for planned, it was 9th grade was 9.5, 10th was 10.4, 11th was 12.1, and 12th was 13.6.
So it goes up.
It goes up.
It goes up from 9th grade to 10th grade to 12th grade.
Attempted suicide is where the percentages differ. So white was only 7.9 attempts.
So white people think about suicide more often, but they attempt it less often.
Yes. Blacks, 11.8.
Dang.
They are the highest to attempt it. Hispanics is 8.9. Female is, on both of those, 9.4 white, 15.2 black, 11.9 Hispanic. So black women statistically are more likely to attempt suicide. That is the thing.
Black female high schoolers are the most likely to attempt suicide in this study.
Yes. So, that was due to the survey. On the documentary The Social Dilemma, One of the this is from Tristan Harris. He was a former design ethics at Google. So his job was to make things addictive. He talked about how him and his team spent hundreds of man-hours designing the Gmail platform to be more addictive to people so they would go to it more. And his quote was, 50 designers made decisions that would impact 2 billion people. So his job was to make things addictive so you would want to go to Google more, want to go to your Gmail more.
Right. Well, and so just a quick input on that is that's what a lot of these apps and devices on your phone really do. Like, so these slot games or these Candy Crush games or really whatever you've got on your phone, they're all designed with a certain mentality to keep you coming back. And the way they do that is, I mean, you've got to be addictive. Mm-hmm. Like, and it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And
I mean, there's actually been a rash of people actually going in, not a whole bunch of people, but people going in debt paying to play games on their phone, and it's like, that's, to the normal person that sounds ridiculous, but so does going into debt in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. My challenge is anyone to just put their phone down and not touch it for about, I'll say, 10 hours. 10 hours, don't even look at social media. Don't even use your phone. See how long you can last.
Yeah.
Without the itch to do
so
you may succeed, but the point of the challenge is to just show you like how much you truly, I don't want to say need, but need the phone
and the social media. If I get bored, I look through Pinterest, Facebook, Snapchat.
Yeah, you go into the bathroom and you're just scrolling on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Like that's the newspaper.
Totally normal thing now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, and like, so what's really, I don't have the stats on this, but there are people that will go back to their car for their phone, but they'll leave their baby in a car seat in the back seat. Like, that's crazy. That's a crazy level. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I'm saying there are people with that level of addiction to their phone.
Most people will forget their keys or wallet. They'll never forget their phone.
Never forget
it. Most people, when they check their pockets, they know immediately when their phone's gone. And they start searching for it heavily.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I know I do that. If I don't know where my phone's at, I start looking.
Mm-hmm. From 2007 to 2009, the first ever suicide was caused by cyberbullying. That we know of. It was first ever reported case.
Oh, so we're getting into...
Yes.
Okay.
This is the first ever suicide that was been recorded was 2007, 2009-ish, depending on which...
That was confirmed to be by cyberbullying.
Yes. It was, I believe they made a MySpace account for this girl, started doing things, they started acting as her, and she couldn't take it anymore, and then she killed herself.
Yeah, they artificially created I think her name was Megan.
Yes.
She was 13 years old, and they created a MySpace account in her name and started just making her look like a dipshit.
Yeah, making her
and it resulted in her suicide.
Looks and say things that she would never do.
Now, it's really troubling.
So wait, before we move on, I don't think we covered the whole the fact that social media companies make their product as addictive as possible. Mm-hmm. Like that we just kind of swept that under the rug. That's a big deal.
I'm not trying to sweep that under the rug at all.
That's a big deal. Like, I feel like we just let them get away with one there.
So, I highly recommend you go watch The Social Dilemma. It explains a lot more in detail, a lot better than I could.
Well, it explains how there's an algorithm that they based on the user to keep you coming back, to the point where if you look at, I don't know, let's say you look at wood carvings a lot and you're like, wow, that's really cool. Well, Facebook remembers that, and every so often they will send you a notification when you haven't been on Facebook enough, and they'll be like, come look at this wood carving video.
Yeah.
They do it all the time. If you have McDonald's app, if you drive within a certain proximity to one, they'll send you a notification.
Like, hey, you want to order some McDonald's?
It's like, hey, look at this deal. And it's the same deal that's always been on there, but they send you a notification. So.
Right. It's the bells and whistles alert you to what you may have been ignoring to draw you in.
Yeah, they're just trying to draw you in.
There's a famous 1970s ad. They don't specify what ad it was, but the quote was, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product.
Well, that's a separate issue, but that is a big issue with social media.
Their whole thing is to draw your attention so they can
sell your information.
Basically, you're the guinea pig. They want.
Well, that's what we are, especially with Facebook and Twitter, and
they think Facebook's a multi-billion-dollar company, but it's free. Everyone can download it because advertisers buy for your data.
Yeah.
Facebook specifically makes things addictive. Facebook games, everything. It's supposed to. It's like how McDonald's has a red logo because it makes you hungrier.
It's to draw your eye. There's some science behind it or something.
So like red makes
but
you
I
hungry.
think more to the point of the quote, though, was that you are the product for social media. And we've had this discussion before. I think it may have been on the last podcast, but you are the product. Your information and your data and the stuff you peruse on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, this is the stuff they're selling to businesses, corporations, sometimes even the government.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes not even our government.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean,
China.
We don't, it's mostly Russia, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But it's incredibly troubling because no one has to consent to that. There's nothing in their terms of service that says they're going to sell your shit. It's just, we're going to sell your shit.
And from their perspective, they're like, well, it's a free service. Like, you don't have to join Facebook. So, like, what does it matter what we do? You know, you came here for free. We're not charging you anything. And it's like, well,
because you built it to keep me here.
You sold my data. That's not yours to sell from a lot of people.
You sold my private information.
Yeah.
Essentially. Another big trend that happens with social media is school shootings. Believe it. So I'm gonna list off these famous sites.
Hang on. Did we have anything else to talk about the suicide rates? So you heard the stats. So we've got it increases. It starts from 2009. The study you quoted
the CDC,
was done in 2009.
The CDC did a study from 2009 to 2018.
Right.
And it showed that suicide attempts jumped 61.7%.
Okay, so going into how this also correlates with school shootings. All right, so we're gonna go over. Here, I'm gonna do this one.
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, so this was my little bit because me and my little brother actually just cracked this open today. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go over the years that each of these social media platforms reach 1 million users. All right, and this is just for a point of reference. So we have MySpace, 2004. Facebook, 2008. Twitter is 2006. Instagram's 2012. Reddit is 2009. All right, so all of these are about the same time. Instagram come a little later. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over decade by decade, the average school shootings per year. And what I want you to keep in mind is that 2009, again, was the first actual confirmed suicide caused by cyberbullying. Alright, so pre-social media. So 1982 to 1992, 2.4 shootings per year during that decade. Alright? 1993 to 2003, 2 average school shootings per year. All right, now 1994 was the social media genesis. This is when these businesses started. Okay, but again, I just listed the years that they reached 1 million users. This is what I have labeled the rise of social media. So 2004 to 2014, 3.7 shootings per year. 2015 to present, 9.4. So, if you're our generation, specifically my generation, you feel like there's a whole bunch more school shootings happening recently, it's because there are. There are a lot.
These are the millennials generation.
90s kids. I'm not a millennial.
You are a millennial.
Technically, I'm a millennial. Shut up, Nick.
You're what's wrong with this country.
So it's a really startling trend. Now, the biggest spike is about 2012. We jumped from an average of like 3 to 4 a year to, I think it's 7.
I think it is. It goes from 3 to 7.
So, what's really odd about this is this directly correlates to the spike in social media usage. Now, correlative does not equal causation. Okay? But we have here the first confirmed cyberbullying suicide in about the same year. We have a huge spike in school shootings starting in about the same year. We have all these suicide rates from the study is 2009 to 2018. The suicide rates jumped by 61%. All starting about the same point, and it all correlates to the explosion of social media. And that's scary to me. That's a scary enough correlation that I think we really need to take a harder look at it. And the problem is nobody wants to talk about the correlation. So, everyone gets a whim every, couple years or so when someone commits suicide because of social media. We want to talk about the negative effects and this, that, and the other. This isn't just 3.7 to 9.4 shootings per year. That's crazy. Okay, and so you always, if you got parents about our parents' age, you always hear, we live in the South, so they used to have guns in the back of their car, and it was never a problem. There weren't school shootings happening back then at this rate. It's because it wasn't a problem, because social media is the vector of the issue. It is, so...
I would say it used to be, if you got bullied at school, it's usually one or maybe two people. At the end of the day, you could always fight them. But when nowadays, you get bullied at school, you go home, and then 100 random people on social media would bully you. For no reason other than you posted something, and they said, oh, you can go through any comment section of any social media, you'll find 15 go kill yourselves.
Yeah, people are shitty, especially shitty on social media.
And at some point, some people crack.
Yeah,
and sadly they take their lives.
So that's what I would like to do. Given the stats that we have here, what do you think causes this level of correlation? Do you think it's totally unrelated? Do you think it is related? If it is related, then what are the aspects of it that cause?
So, one thing we didn't talk about is 50% of people who shot up schools posted on social media that their intentions. So they told people basically, this is what I'm going to do. At that point, they're broken. Something happened. They got drove to a point that they just snapped, and they said, you know what? Fuck it. Get up to school.
Right.
Take out the people who hurt you. It's harder to do that on the internet because everyone's a gray face. So I can make 10 fake profiles. Say what I want. No one can find me. Even if they found me, I could be halfway across the world. No one's going to bother traveling a few hundred miles just for one person.
Well, that's not true. Have you ever heard the story about the dude who tracked a kid down who kept killing him in Call of Duty and beat the shit out of him?
Really?
Yeah, this is this old guy. Tracked a dude down through his IP. He doxed him, and he tracked him down through his IP and went to his house, beat the shit out of him. Old man and some little kid. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. It's all, and it doesn't negate your point. It's one instance, but
I don't see how a game could drive you to that point. I've played Call of Duty. I'm just bad at it, and at that point, I just stopped having fun. As soon as I stopped having fun, I just turned it off.
I think we're getting a little off topic, bringing games into the situation. Massive
You
multiplayer
say that. Have
online.
you ever played an Xbox Live account?
Nick, I learned to cuss playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
So you know how it is. There's a lot of
there's a lot of shit talking.
Granted,
but
there's mostly fucking little kids who just learned how to say fuck.
But these, just like that. Oh no, we're already labeled not for kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good thing too.
Oh, so
I'm labeled in 5 counties, not for kids.
For me, more of the issue is, so back in my day, if you got bullied at school, it sucked. But you got to come home at the end of the day, and you had 12 hours. 12 hours to just unwind every day. And you got weekends. You had time away from the people who were bullying you. All right? Nowadays, there is no escape for kids. They've made the social media platform hyper addictive. And on that social media platform, the same people who are bullying them at school are bullying them there. And
if not more people.
If not more people are jumping in.
It went from say 1 to 2 to 100 to maybe more. Random people who just don't know,
and then you're gonna want
to get a rise out of you.
Right? What if you get random people who are just like, oh, someone picking on this kid, I'm just gonna jump in just for the fun of it, because people do that.
So, off a little time. So there's another thing on Netflix. It's called Don't Fuck with Cats. Basically, these group of Facebook people.
This had better be relevant.
Yeah.
It is. So they got a wrong guy. It says some guy killed a cat. So this Facebook was trying to track him down. They got a wrong guy, and they drove him to suicide because they kept attacking him every fucking day. Thousands of people every day attacked him, saying, "We know where you live. We're gonna kill you. Kill yourself." Drove him to suicide.
See, that's terrifying, but that is relevant. Like that goes to the
Like-
point that I'm trying to make.
If witch hunts. You're in the wrong place, wrong time. 100,000 people start messaging you because they think you were something, and you're just a random guy. And then the next day, your whole notifications going up.
I'm not quite ready to equate this with Salem witch trials, but
it's just a witch
this
hunt.
is awful.
It's like if people are determined enough, and say you're just you just happen to have the same name as this person. Because I
don't think getting people confused and driving. So it's awful what you're describing, but that's
you
not
see
what
how
we're
people
talking
could just
about.
attack someone for no good reason or miscommunication, and it drives people
drive them to suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, it's totally relevant.
How would you wake up? How would you feel if you woke up to 100 messages? Just, we know where you live. We're gonna kill you. Kill yourself. You're a terrible person. Why would you do it? You have no. And then the next day, same thing for like a week straight.
And on top of that, you can't ignore it. You can't just not get on Facebook, get on Instagram because you're addicted to it.
Yeah. Or like you're just gonna constantly getting messages.
Why it is so deep in thought right now? What do you got to say?
Well, like, personally, I've never been super big on social media, so it's kind of harder for me to wrap my head around it, because I would probably just say, fuck them, I don't care what they think. But I understand that is not, I'm sure, the way most people think. Like, if someone told me, go kill myself, it's like, my goal on this social media platform is not to appease you, I assure you.
My go-to response is kill me yourself, pussy.
But I understand that is not the way most people look at it. I understand that, like, to them, it is quite literally a part of their identity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that...
A lot of people do it to escape. A lot of people go through social media or something to escape reality.
I don't know that that's necessarily true.
Why I pointed out that, say, like, Twitch streamers, they have a blast gaming.
Yeah, but they're gaming to escape reality, not
Exactly.
streaming it to escape reality. They're streaming it to try to make a career out of what they're doing.
Like, you see how, like, people get distracted. Try to, like, you would, like, watch YouTube to escape. Or you scroll through Facebook just
I guess
to
it's the
escape.
same premise as watching TV to escape.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really qualify YouTube as a social media.
I would. You
would?
interact
Just because
with
of
people.
the comments? Like...
Yeah,
It'd be the same as just scrolling through Instagram. You may never post anything, but you're going to have followers and stuff like that.
Anyway. Like, the big terrifying thing here for me is this is at the very least a correlative graph between the founding and the eruption of social media and suicide and school shootings in our youth. And that's terrifying. Now, so Wyatt, what do you think of them? Like, do you think this is just correlative and not causated? I personally think I find it hard to believe it's not causing it.
I mean, if you look at
The aspect of social media is not causing this dramatic spike around the same time, but I'm willing to hear arguments.
I mean, in all honesty, you can see it as social media rose, so did these two events. It may not have been parallel, but it definitely was.
That's what I said. It's correlating, but it may not be causation.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't think of another reason.
Well, there could be a multitude of reasons. That's why I'm asking why. He's always the voice of like devil's advocate. There you go.
The culture has definitely changed in America over the past since social media, and it's because of social media that it's changed. And I don't know, it's made us to be louder. It's not necessarily better, but it's made us to be louder and more extreme in every way. So like, it's not necessarily my big thing on social media, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, in a minute. But it's the misinformation that gets spread all over. It's not even about just politics, about sports, about celebrities, about politics, about everything you can think of. And the problem is that it spreads faster than real information, because real information has to be fact-checked. misinformation can just be spread and put out there, and it spreads 3 times as fast
I mean, you probably
as something that's not
echo
true.
chambers. I mean,
But like that's my big worry.
I mean,
So it's not really a concern with what we're talking about now. Your concern is more of how.
Well, I'm concerned about both, but I'm more concerned about like
you
misinformation.
I could see how misinformation could lead to a bigger problem. Because I think we've all heard the fact, like, oh, you eat 8 to 10 spiders a year on your sleep. That was a study to see how gullible people would believe something at face value.
Yeah, but my thing is I'm not killing myself because I misheard a statistic about how many spiders I swallow in my sleep.
No,
like,
I get it. But, like, I see where he's coming. Like,
I'm not saying that misinformation and fake news on social media is not a problem, because I know plenty of people who, surprisingly, just take what they read on Facebook and run with it.
Yeah.
I've known people to read an article from The Onion, which if you don't know what The Onion is, it's a satirical...
It's like the Babylon Bee and
Yeah.
a bunch of other ones. They're not real news outlets, but they post headlines like they are because it's satire. It's not supposed to be.
It's like South Park. Like, you know, it's hilarious, but it's not real. But I've met people who will read an article from them and think, "Oh my God, can you believe?" Like, no, I can't, because it's fake.
I've heard people without a fucking PhD talk about how to cure COVID with, like, just common household items. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna believe a doctor.
Oh shit, who was it? So, okay, obviously there's Trump with
Hydroxychloroquine
and injecting UV light in your... But wasn't it... Who was it? Was it Cuomo's wife? Who said, like, bathing in a certain percentage of bleach would help keep you COVID free? I don't think it was the governor. I think it was the newscaster. But yeah, I think so.
I don't know. See, this may be an example of misinformation.
No, I know this happened.
I don't
know that it was Cuomo's wife, but some chick was on there, and she's a media host's wife, and she was going around saying, like, you can bathe in a certain percentage bleach water, and it kills COVID off you. And people were bleaching their skin because you bathe in bleach, and that's what happens.
So I have a problem right now. You know, Clorox, the cleaning company, they advertise that their product could kill the COVID vaccine, which is false. Is that false?
The vaccine or the illness?
The illness. Sorry, I misspoke.
I was going to say.
They could kill COVID-19, which is false. That's misadvertising.
False advertising?
That's illegal. It says it can kill 100% of COVID-19. People believe that.
That must got to be in a laboratory setting, because they wouldn't be able to put that on
I
there.
don't think it's true in a laboratory setting either. There's no way.
So I'm saying
no way. It can't.
How can Clorox like that spread that misinformation legally? That's clearly false advertising.
I don't know.
Well, on the internet, you're protected for your speech from all sorts of legal battles.
This isn't the internet.
That's
this
what
is like
this is on. I think he's talking about something on their product.
That's what Section 230 is.
This is like a TV commercial that says in bold white, kills. They even announced it on the commercial. Can kill 100% of COVID-19.
I haven't heard this, and I feel like I would have.
Yeah.
No.
This may be more
actually watch
misinformation,
TV and not like Netflix.
This may be more misinformation.
I'm telling. I know mine's not misinformation, man. I laughed about that for days.
But
I laugh most Democrats.
Yeah, hang on. Let's get. We're down.
Yeah, we're getting off track.
What?
I don't know. Like it's like as far as like the suicide thing, I don't know how do you deal with social media? How do you put the genie back in the fucking bottle?
You can't.
Right. So assuming it is causation, what do we do to fix it?
You can't. Sorry. The platforms are there. Unless you want to delete all of them, which will cause a major uproar, you're not going to fix it. I say that.
You think people are going to riot because you deleted social media? Well,
actually,
given what we've just looked at.
You know how pissed people were when Instagram got rid of the like button? People had mental breakdowns because they're Instagram famous, and when they got rid of the like button, most people quit Instagram until they brought it back. They had meltdowns because of it. Because they don't get that validation. They don't get it. It's all for validation. So my thing is, the only way you could fix it, you know how like some certain areas censor curse words? You can't say, like, if you type out fuck, it'll censor it. You can censor sentences like kill yourselves. Go kill yourself. Fucking die. You can censor those. That to me, that'd be the only way of fixing it. And if you type those,
I mean, that's not a terrible idea.
It would. It's like, say you type it, instead of censoring, it just not post your comment. That's, to me, is the only way you could really fix that. And to me, that a lot of people say, well, that's people being in a safe space. I'd rather people stop killing themselves than...
Yeah, I'd rather people not be able to tell other people to go die.
I don't think it...
Push them to suicide.
And I don't think it'd be that hard to program. You can program easily to censor cuss words.
Oh, these are billion-dollar companies.
Like, this isn't
Like,
hard.
They don't have a resource problem.
Indie developers do this on a basic, and they have 2-bit games.
The code exists because you're right. You've seen it in other applications. Like, so I am an IT guy. Like, the code, there is a way to do it, and there's not a resource problem. So they could do it.
If you ever play the game Among Us, you can't type in "kill yourself." You can't type in that. It just puts up random characters. You can't do it. It's there.
So why? I mean,
the technology's there.
I think that's relevant. Like that, not relevant, but I think that's a good idea.
That's all.
Like,
to me, that's the only way you can fix it. And most people are like, "Oh,
I mean, that's definitely more. That's definitely more effective than age limits.
I was gonna say, what about age limits?
I lied about my Facebook. I have 3 Facebook accounts that say I'm like from 1980.
Yeah, I think people would just lie about their age.
So yeah, you'd have to have some way to verify it.
And people, the only thing I can say is people say, "Oh, that's not free speech." Free speech does not mean you can threaten people.
Yeah.
A lot of people confuse that. I can't tell you to go kill yourself.
You can't encourage someone.
Yeah.
Well, there was a case not too long ago.
Assisted suicide.
Yeah.
It's a federal crime.
Yeah.
And I'll say that in certain states, assisted suicide is legal, but you have to be a medically.
If it's a federal crime, then it's not certain states. It's a felony. That means it's a federal level offense. It means it crosses states' lines.
So certain states allow it, but you have to be a medical doctor.
Are you talking about real assisted suicide?
Yes, you have to be a doctor.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about like comments telling you to go kill yourself being assisted suicide.
It is.
Like, is it under federal law or is it in your mind?
No. You don't understand. There is a difference between someone online telling you to go kill yourself
and a doctor.
I misspoke. That is my bad.
There is a huge legal difference between the two. I assure you. There is. Okay. But God, I mean, I don't know how you solve this problem because, like I said, you had lightning in a bottle and you let it out and you're trying to put it back in. It's like it's not.
I don't think you have lightning in a bottle. I think social media had good intentions. There's just shitty people.
Well, that's lightning in a bottle. Like that. I mean, he's right. You harnessed like something that's the fabric of what makes us human is our need for social interaction, and you harnessed that in the information age to profit from us, really. And it has exploded to the point where what do you do? And so, honestly, the censoring the go kill yourself comments, like you could get, it's doable. I don't see why not do it personally.
I don't even sometimes
describe to me the context where go kill yourself is warranted.
Never.
Yeah, fucking never.
No, I can't think of one.
Yeah, so it seems fine to go ahead and remove that.
Like
the only other recommendation I have is more parental oversight. And that's what sucks. It's like there's nothing the federal government can do about that. You as parents have to step up and take more of an in-person role on your children's social media.
You can, but is every parent going to? Most parents will.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the thing is every parent has to do it. Otherwise, this problem's going to continue. Because how do you stop it?
I guess the
kids clearly aren't talking about it until they go do something about it.
I guess the social media could do it. Like, if y'all hadn't know, Rush Limbaugh recently died of cancer. He'd been battling it for years. And a trending hashtag was rest in piss.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that later.
Man's dead. I get it, you may have not agreed with him and all that. Man's dead. Let him be.
Yeah. Like, even if you didn't like him, you just shut the fuck up for a few days.
Like,
I'm just going to say, like, okay, so there's not, like, you may disagree with politics and stuff, and I don't really want to get into this right now, because this will be a topic for a different time, mostly on, would it be free speech, or would it just be the political hostility between parties?
I believe
it doesn't matter. Yeah. But if you trended rest in piss, or
if you came up with
enjoy your time in hell, and fucking Jack Dorsey at Twitter, fuck you letting it trend. fuck you.
I've seen
if the same thing would have trended about, God forbid something happens to Barack Obama, and something like that trends on Twitter, you just shut it down. Something like that would have trended about RGB, you just shut it down. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you, and fuck you if you hashtagged it.
Well,
if you create it, go fuck
I will say this. The last thing Rush Limbaugh would have wanted was for us to be sitting here being pissed off about the people who told him, good riddance. Like that's the last thing Rush Limbaugh would have wanted, is us moping around about it. That tells you who he was, and that tells you that he was hated by the right people, that they would react like that. Honestly, like immediately after his death, and some people acted like that for Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
and they're pieces of shit too.
Because as much
as at some point you gotta let your political differences aside. This is still a tragedy.
This is a human being.
This is a man who fought with cancer for a long, long time, who probably didn't think he was gonna live as long as he did, and finally he just couldn't fight no longer. You wouldn't do this to like a random person. No, it's like, all right, it's sad. So just let it be.
We're gonna move on. We'll probably address that later. Rest in peace, Rush Limbaugh.
I drew a Republican town.
I guess back to our original. So it's really gonna come down with social media issue. It's gonna come down to maybe some kind of code application.
My problem is, Facebook got rid of the dislike button, so you can definitely implement something to definitely censor this.
Nick, I'm gonna tell you right now. Again, I work with code. Facebook's written in PHP. You can do it. Like, especially with Facebook doesn't have a resource problem. Like Wyatt said, like there's no reason they couldn't do what you're suggesting. The question is, would it help?
I don't think people are making much of a fuss about it. Not enough people are making.
Oh, and that's for sure. Not enough people discuss it.
If enough people started kicking up a fuss about it, I'd bet something would change.
Well, social media doesn't want them to talk about it though.
No one wants.
That's part of the problem.
No one.
It's just like alcohol companies don't want people to talk about alcoholics and what they do to their lives. Like, it's the same thing.
Sadly, no one cares until it's too late.
It's the same thing as cigarettes.
Yeah,
guys. Like people know it's a problem, and they know that maybe I shouldn't do this because there are long-term consequences to maybe doing this from an early age, but they keep fucking smoking.
Yeah, because smoking is amazing.
Smoking is.
I'm
addictive.
just kidding. Do not start smoking. It's
smoking
awful.
is addictive and horrible, and social media can be.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful.
And
I think we all know it.
That's the problem.
That's my thing.
That's the problem, I think
we all know it.
But do these high schoolers, are they responsible enough? And again, so it's just like a high schooler who starts smoking. Like, how much of that, like, they may not be aware of what they're doing, but how much of that falls on their parents for making sure they don't start those bad habits?
I don't think the parents know, because these parents are baby boomers. They didn't grow up with
That's
technology.
a valid argument.
So they don't know themselves. Like, no offense to our dad, he reads an article on Facebook. He takes that face value. He does. As sad as that is, he does. He takes that, most of what he reads on face value. We've corrected him multiple times about, no, that's not actually, because he thought since Joe Biden didn't finish the whole, hand on the Bible speech, he was no longer president. That's false. There's nothing constitutional. It's more. I
don't think Dad actually believed that.
He did. He went on a 15-minute...
I think Dad just likes to piss you both off.
He went on a 15-minute thing. Him and Mom both went on a 15-minute thing saying he can't be president until he finished the little what is it?
The ceremony.
The ceremony.
Yeah.
There's
oh God.
But you know what he got it from? An article on Facebook written
by
by a girl named Brittany.
They don't actually look into whether or not the stuff is true. They just they trust whatever they see first. That is fact.
The big thing with getting your information from social media is always check your fucking shit. Like, if you read something on Facebook, do a quick Google search.
And please don't Google search. So, like, if you see something about, like,
please don't go to Wikipedia. Go to
if you don't like, do your Google search is smart. So don't Google, like, why is Earth flat? Google, is the Earth flat? You understand? Like, you can...
Don't Google self of self-affirmation.
You can elicit certain responses depending on how you ask the question, and I think that's how you get people who in 2021 don't believe in any climate change whatsoever, or they don't believe in anything that's...
Don't you look at me. Don't you take your fucking eyes off me. You
Motherfucker-
look somewhere else, boy.
It snowed like 24 inches
Global
out
warming's
here.
a myth. We had 20 inches of snow.
That's what climate change is. We got
Yeah.
Arctic air in
the
the
climate,
American...
the
I'm
climate
just
changed.
kidding.
It's
Anyway,
in the
hey,
other fucking
separate
direction.
separate issue. But I'm just saying misinformation spreads, and on both sides, faster than actual information.
Yes.
You know why? Because misinformation's funner.
Yeah, it's
My-
more
My
more
favorite,
pizzazz.
Well, it's not bound by the rules of fucking reality.
my favorite quote from one of my history teachers was, "If you ask 10 different people the same question, you'll get 10 different fucking answers." And
Not if they're 10
the-
educated people.
You if you look at, I can switch between Fox News and CNN on a same event, and they'll give you 2 different reasons on why that event happened.
So, with political propaganda, that's right. But if I ask 10 people who won World War II, I could ask three of them be French, and they would still say America.
Definitely wouldn't say French.
Yeah, they wouldn't say France. They might try, but I wouldn't let it slide. Oh, God.
I let
Yeah, they're
them-
not very confrontational, so the second you challenge them, they just hold up their underwear as a white flag and call it a day.
Well, it's
But-
not quite a white flag. It's got that yellow stain on the front, because...
It's got a good shit stain from the Blitz.
God damn.
Jesus. If you're from France, I'm so sorry, but
I'm not. It's hilarious.
I wonder, do you think they know? Do you think they know that we make fun of them for surrendering?
Oh, that's
all the
probably
time?
why all the French hate us. Have you ever been?
Honestly,
have you been an
yeah.
American vacationing in France? I haven't, but in all the movies, it looks like they hate us.
I think
That's
that's just
probably
because
why.
that's probably just how they talk in English, you know.
Like
I
cunts.
blame their ambulance sirens.
Oh God.
But
Watch Family Guy.
All right. So we keep going down tangents. Let's wrap this up. All right. Closing final thoughts. So we've got pretty much Nick. You and Wyatt are of the opinion you've got lightning in a bottle. You've let the genie out of the lamp. There's nothing you can do to put it back in.
I don't agree. The genie's out of the lamp, but there's a way you can put him back in, and most people like censoring. When people say censoring, most people think, freedom of speech. I'm like, all right, you don't get to tell someone to kill yourself, to go kill themselves. You don't get to say that to somebody.
So,
There's a way to fix it. You may not get the whole genie in the lamp, but you can damn sure get his fucking head.
So I'm gonna go off an Aladdin reference, and you may not be able to get the genie back in the lamp, but you can put some fucking bracers on him. You could clamp that son of a bitch down a little bit. Phenomenal cosmic power, itty bitty living space. Oh, rest in peace, Robin Williams too.
God, I
Damn,
missed
I'm getting
him,
old. Anyway,
I missed him, man.
don't shake your head yes that I'm getting old. You. God
Bitch,
damn
I
it.
see gray hairs all the time on you.
Fuck you both.
I see gray
You
hairs.
take a long walk off a short pier with a tight rope.
I see gray hairs and a big old gut there, buddy.
See, and that's the problem with social media. Did you hear what I just told him?
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn problem.
Yeah, honestly though. But now since we're in person, you can slap me in the face if you wanted.
I'm about to. Once we shut this podcast off.
Man, you can try, but your fat ass can't move that fast.
Oh! See? Cyberbullying. Wait, is this? No, this is real bullying.
Yeah, this is
So
this
it's
is
real bullying
This is your
on
young-
the internet.
This is
though.
your younger birdie picking on you.
It's loving criticism. It's not
Yeah.
bullying.
Yeah.
Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done because this is scary. Levels of causation.
You have to solve it like through legislation though. Because
I
Facebook's
don't
not
know.
Facebook's not gonna just out of the kindness of their heart, turn their users away.
So you either
that's
have to solve it with legislation,
Or you leave
or
it,
you have to solve it in your home. It's gonna have to be something that each individual looks at and is made aware of. We need to cover this.
I don't think enough households would do that.
It tripled. The rates of school shootings
but
tripled
I don't
in correlation with
I-
fucking social media.
I don't think every household. Mostly because most of the people like baby boomers, they don't know how it works. That doesn't know.
That's a fair statement.
Like they don't know that. Dad talks about like, oh, I'm gonna buy this truck, and sure as shit, the next thing he sees is all the what he was talking about pops up. He doesn't know how that works. So it's like, I'm not gonna trust Dad to teach me how to run social media because I teach
Well, I
him
sure
how
hope
to.
our dad doesn't listen to this podcast because
He probably doesn't know. He probably doesn't know how to look at podcasts.
Wow. I assure you guys,
Garrett-
our dad is not dumb.
Garrett, I had to teach him how the microphone on his phone worked 10 different times, and he still asks how it works.
Wow.
I'm saying there's ways to fix it, but it's all up to the company.
We got to do something about it. Like, I can't look at that and think, no, we're just not doing anything. Like, somebody, even if the government doesn't do something, or the government can't, I personally have to do something about it.
Would it be under free speech?
Yeah, it would have to be under free speech. It would have to be under free speech. Because if it, like, if it wasn't, like, the company's going to tell you that, like, fuck you, we have a right to do what we want. But the government, if anyone can tell them, fuck you, you're going to do what we want anyway, it's the government. You as a parent have no power over Facebook. We, the people, with the government, can tell Facebook, fuck you.
This is what we want.
You're an American
you
company.
as a parent can control what happens in your home.
That's on a macro level, though.
Yeah.
Sorry, micro. It's on a micro. Just all this on a macro level, you're going to have to...
It takes legislation. It's gonna and not state by state legislation. It's gonna take
my
national,
is,
if not global.
If you left it up to the parents, what percentage of parents do you think really would go into detail to teach their kids this? Because let's be honest, once you hit teenage, you rebel against your parents.
I think it just takes paying attention. So, like, I realize that school shooters and suicide victims often don't show signs, but when your 13-year-old wants to make a Facebook, make them add you as a friend. Okay?
I still
keep tabs on their phone.
I don't. I say you couldn't see the comments, but if they post something, you'll see it. So you will see the comments.
So the argument against that is they'll create a different Facebook that's really the one they're using, and the one that you're friends with is just keep tabs on their phone. I know. Look, it sucks to be an invasive parent. I know a lot of parents really try a hands-off approach. But goddamn it, you're not there to be their friend. You're there to make sure they survive childhood.
My only problem is I've seen helicopter parents, and I know people who.
We're not talking about helicopter parents that are in and out. We're talking about a strong presence in their life, consistently.
At what age do you just stop protecting them?
You don't ever.
So you're gonna wait till your kid's 40 years old to stop protecting them from Facebook? I would say
from Facebook, probably when you're like 18 and you're living on your own, I'm going to stop going through your phone. But until then...
I would say, so like if I was a kid and I started paying for my own phone, that's the second my parents stopped looking at my Facebook or looking through my stuff.
That's fine.
Now, I know
each household's going to be different.
Yeah.
But I think it's my point is it's a role that parents should take up until we can figure out what to do.
That would be a good solution it's a temporary solution.
I, as a parent, would probably just not let my kids have a phone until they're old enough. Like, there's no reason.
I think we all agree that our first phones were flip phones. We didn't have social media.
Yeah, but we're also not growing up now.
Yeah, we're not growing up now.
Wade has a tablet, and he's 4.
Yeah, but like even me, I grew up with iPhones. I had a flip phone for 3 years until high school. I didn't have my first phone, which was your hand-me-down.
Nokia.
That we didn't even know the password until you put it in because it's the phone you had. The phone you had then, it was the same password. And I said, I just want that phone. Mom goes, okay. I had minutes on it. I couldn't get on social media, which I guess that'd be a thing.
But phones going forward are only going to have smartphones.
Every phone,
Steve Jobs ruined the world.
Every phone automatically has Facebook installed.
Yeah. You know why?
It's what most
Big
people
tech
guess.
has money.
It does. Like, you think about it. Every time you get a new phone, Facebook is always there.
It sounds like we're pretty much in agreement. It's going to have to be a micro level addressing until we figure out something more substantial to do.
I'm saying there are things that you can do, like, on a parent-to-parent household, but if you really want to solve this problem, you're going to have to go to the government. You're going to have to be like, look, you have to tell these big tech companies they're not allowed to pull this shit anymore.
What shit? The addictive shit? The allowing bullying?
Yeah, for sure the addictive stuff.
Now, okay.
So they're going to totally restructure their site then.
Yeah. Well, that's not incredibly radical because a bunch of these people are arguing for them to be broken up. They're trying to be trust busters, and I'm not necessarily against that, but that's a separate argument. But like, we're just wanting them to not make their stuff so radical or deal with the cyberbullying, which is technically in terms of service, but the enforcement of it is not as big as it should
you know, like
be.
censoring conservatives.
They're not censoring the conservative views you think they are.
Yeah, they're kicking them off.
My thing is, oh god, my thing is, so I grew up and a lot of people had the mentality. A lot of people in my class had the mentality that bullying builds character, made you tougher, you know, it made you. Which to an extent, I got thick skin. Most people say something to me or like insult me. It rolls down my back.
How much of that was you putting up with bullying, and how much of that was just your character?
I could just kick people's ass. But
you know how many times I got told let it roll off your back as a kid? All the fucking time.
Because, okay, my excuse was, especially on social media, I'm never going to see this person. Why do I care what they say about me? I know about me. I know what I hold. I know what I matter. If one person is happy that I would kill myself, I don't want to give them that validation. Out of spite, I don't want to have that person happy.
That's the wrong way to look at it.
That's for one, the wrong way to look at it.
No.
Number two, that's not the same role that everyone else will look at it. That is an outlier.
Yeah.
Is what that is.
Well,
because
you're not killing. You're living out of spite.
That's actually. Most of my things are out of spite.
Like,
I
think
dangerous.
it's a lot more
It
common that, like,
It
in a group of 3 girls, you know, 2 of them get 1,000 likes on their Instagram post, and one of them gets 150, which is still, you know, a decent amount. But it's like, shit, they're 2 friends, they're getting 1,000, and she feels like crap. And not only that,
Also,
other people are commenting on their friends, like how beautiful they are and how, oh my goodness, you look so good. And like, I wish I was having this much fun. But on hers, they're telling her to kill herself, and they're telling her like, wow, you're going to post not a filter? Like, that's insane.
So my biggest thing is, so the data shows that women are more likely to act upon these things.
Oh, by a significant margin.
By a lot. And my case, women are a lot more ruthless and a lot meaner than men are.
That's for sure.
Women, one, they're very emotional. Their brains are better for emotion. They are. Biologically, women are more emotional than men. We're more physical, women are more emotional. They like to think things through. They use their brain, men use their fucking brawn. We're dumb as fuck. Let's be honest.
I think men and women handle problems in a different way, is how I would say that.
But so my biggest thing is, I can go without talking to my friends for a year. No grudges holding. Women don't talk to each other for a week. They start harboring grudges.
So I'm not saying what you're saying is false, but again, I think the main problem is that, so if Wyatt over there is talking shit, when I finally get my belly full, I'm going to knock the shit out of him.
Can't do that over a screen. That's the problem.
But with women, when so-and-so finally has their belly full, they don't have the violent capacity to let that out. They lack the testosterone to handle that situation a man would. And the thing is, we let it out. Like, it just erupts from us, you know, in violence. With women, it's all bottled up. And they have no one, they're not going to go slap that other girl for talking shit. Some of them do, for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do. But they just bottle it up. And then they end up taking that violence out on themselves
Women take more
often.
things more personally.
That's not true. Men take things very personally. Like,
we have a better way of handling it.
I don't think it's better. I just think it's different.
Yeah,
And it statistically does not increase our chances of self-harm. Because we're letting it out. We're taking our anger out. You know how many times were you pissed off and you go punch a wall? Like, it's not a smart idea. Your hand hurts. But, you know, you didn't bottle it up and end up trying to hurt yourself.
We have outlets to, sports especially, to release the anger. Women, on average, don't. But not the same as men. Men play more physical, like football, boxing, wrestling. We have a way to physically release that anger. Where women play softball, basketball, soccer, it's like all the energies be bottled up. And eventually, at some point, you just snap. And it's going to snap in one good way. You got 2 ways of snapping. Self-harm, or you're going fucking crazy.
I would for sure not say those are the only two, but they may be the most common.
Yeah.
But
I mean, therapy's always an option, but screw that.
I feel like girls also
Most people
talk
don't.
out their problems more.
I would say
Therapy.
scream. I would say scream.
Yeah, well, like, not necessarily to a therapist, like to them. I mean, I know a bunch of girls, they're really tight with their mom.
Yep.
You know? And, you know, they would talk to their mom or their friends.
I know.
I feel like the most destroying thing as a parent is your kid comes to you telling you about this, and there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do
Oh,
to...
bullshit, there's nothing I can do.
What can you do to stop, like, 100 people just...
So I'm going to go to the person who starts at house. And
How-
me and their father
how
are
do you
going to
know?
have words.
How do
I
you
would-
know, though? They're
I
not
would-
making a fake account.
I would go to the school.
So
School
I'm
can't
IT.
do anything. If
I'm
it's- if
IT,
it's
I
online-
will find their fucking IP.
We will
Because I
figure
guarantee a
something
high schooler is not using a VPN.
But-
So I'll fucking find you if you start trash talking my daughter to the point where you're trying to commit she's trying to commit suicide. I will find you. I will
What-
fly to
so-
fucking Russia.
One of my coaches, you couldn't say go because my generation, we joke about suicide. We've like, I'd rather.
Well, that's not healthy either.
It's our sense of humor. Our humor's different. We say, I'd rather blow my heads off than do this. I had a coach who had to save a girl because she hung herself in a classroom. He had to save her. If you said go kill yourself, you were getting suspended or expelled because of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was like, what do you do? You're a teacher, someone, you walk in, someone hung themselves in your classroom. Like,
Cut them down.
and then you find out, like, okay, it's not a person at school, it's some other person from a different state. Or different county.
See, I don't know how often that's the case.
I feel like most of the case, it's definitely someone you know.
Yeah, it's definitely someone you know. Or people you know.
They're probably using a fake account. But
I'm
there's
not
a
saying
but-
that's impossible.
But like, you can't attack like a school. They can't technically do anything to online.
Oh,
Why?
that.
Oh,
that
bullshit.
I
You can
call
get-
bullshit.
What can
Yeah.
a school do? If I
So
make
especially private schools have morality clauses.
but
When
if
you
I
join.
make a fake account and you don't know it's me and I start bullying
The
girls, what can a
school
do?
can definitely find out.
How? If I'm at home,
Well, I know for sure, at least at our school, they had an incident like that where a boy said something he shouldn't. He said, stuff like, don't come to school on this day and this day. And he was using a fake account, and they found him.
Yeah.
So don't tell me the school can't.
because
I don't think
there's
this-
an
I don't
IP
think this-
address.
And we're a low...
I don't think the school found. I think police found him.
we're a low-budget school. Well, the school can at least reach out to people who can. If they can't
so this is more of
directly...
a school shooting incident than a...
a cyber.
No, if my kid is getting bullied by
the
other
point.
students of that school, I will go to that school if I have to.
I'll call the police if they have to. If it's
Okay.
serious enough.
But the problem is, okay, you go to say your kid's getting bullied, you go to the school. What then? What's the school?
They call the police.
What
They
is
call
the-
their parents.
What's the school? Okay.
Yeah.
You know how many kids didn't give a shit what their parents told them? I knew a lot. My whole grade was full of people who did not care.
So-
I call bull.
Here's my thing. I am a grown-ass man, and I would never physically assault someone under the age of 18. But if you have pushed my daughter or my son to the point of considering suicide, and I have brought it to the school and the police, and they have done nothing about it, and your parents have lectured you and it has not stopped, the buck stops here. Right here. And your ass is going to stop right here when it meets the pavement.
Yeah, I think there's not many parents, I don't think, that you would show, if especially if you had some sort of evidence that your daughter or your son was causing themselves harm, and you said, look, like, I think this is because of your kid's bullying, and you have pictures, like, of the comments and of the stuff, and it's like, look, your child is really doing this to my daughter. You had better handle it. Because, like, I don't want to get the police involved, but I damn sure will. Like, this is my child.
I think the police are your best option.
And, well, I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go about it. Because I think you got to go to the parents first. But they don't have much time to... I mean, you're talking, like, they got to get it right quick.
Yeah, if it happens, like, one more time.
Like, if it happens again that night. Like, that had better be handled quick. And I would tell them, be like, look, man, I don't want your kid on social media. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry,
I'm
actually.
not a fan of beating your kid, but discipline definitely needs to be taken.
Right.
Discipline comes in many forms.
Sometimes it's with
Most
a belt.
often with a nun and a ruler.
Trout.
It's not
Frozen
that
trout.
kind of Not that kind of video, Garrett.
That's a porn.
But,
this isn't Pornhub?
But
no, sadly, no.
I don't think necessarily violence is the best way to handle it either. For our generation, if you give me the choice of SWATs or you take away my phone for a week, SWATs.
Yeah.
So you got to take away the phone.
You got to find the right punishment.
You got to find the appropriate punishment.
I'm not trying to give bullies a outing, but a lot of bullies usually their home life is they're getting beaten.
Right, they're bullies for a reason.
Yeah, it's because at home they're getting either beaten, mistreated, something like that. That's not an excuse to you to act the way you do. There's always
This has really turned into an amalgamation of several different societal problems.
It is. Yeah. And it could lead to
this
these
is all
statistics.
pushed by social media, I think.
Mm-hmm. Home, I would argue home problems and social media problems are a good link to these statistics.
I don't think anyone's going to argue that home problems don't affect school shooting ratios, at least, and suicide attempts. If you've got someone who's being abused by an uncle, that'd make me want to do it.
People is there's sometimes I see why people did kill themselves. To them, they had nothing else to live for. Every day was hell.
I'm going to throw this out here, too. I know we've talked a lot about suicide this episode. There's never a reason to kill yourself. I know times, I've been there, trust me,
there's always
I would highly encourage
please
you
seek help.
Yeah.
There's
suicide hotlines, there's therapy. Talk to a friend, a grandma, something, because I would rather disagree with your opinions every day than hear that you committed suicide.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Believe it or not, a lot of people, more than you think, would care about you. If you did it.
But I think that's a good place to wrap it up, guys. I don't think we're talking a little bit in circles here. Why? Do you got any other input?
No, I'm all good.
No.
All right. Well, we will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe. I think we got 46 views on our last one. This is only our second video, so bear with us. If you guys got suggestions for topics you want to hear about, political, theological, you want to see one of us draw a rainbow unicorn, I don't care. Just drop it in a comment. Let us know. Hopefully we get a few more viewers and subscribers to get a little bit more input. But we'll talk at you later.
Peace.